Welcome everyone, this is Bogdan for PokerStrategy.com. Today I'll bring you guys the first episode of a new series in which we discuss the mental game relating to the poker game. Now, a lot of you have asked me to start a series in which I discuss the various approaches I take to improving my mental game and to making sure that I'm always at 100% or close to 100% when I play the tables. The reason I even want to start this is because I feel that most players focus too much of their attention on their actual poker game and then they ignore one other aspect of their game that's very important, and that aspect is the mental side of things. Because, for example, you can be the best poker player in the world in the actual poker game, but if you can't maintain your concentration, if you can't maintain your focus on the tables and you can't stay tilt free while you play, it doesn't really matter how good you are, because what will happen is you will start bleeding money all over the place because you are not well prepared or well focused for the session. So I'm thinking of starting this new series with the biggest enemy that all of us have in poker, and that's obviously going to be variance. Of course, some of you may say tilt is our biggest enemy. However, tilt is almost always affected by the variance in this game, meaning that you might start the session all happy and ready to go, and you're not going to get on tilt, but then all of a sudden the cards are not being dealt, or the cards are being dealt and they're being cracked and so on, and then you become affected by tilt, which in fact was you being affected by the variance of the game. So what I want to start with right away is the definition of variance for those of you that want to go back to the roots of the word. So you can see that in probability or statistics, variance is a measure of how far a set of numbers is spread out. What does it actually mean in poker terms? Well, it means that if I take 10 people that play exactly the same and I throw them at a table, each of the separate table if you want, and then they each play 10,000 hands, the results will always be different. There's a small probability that yes, two of them may have similar results, but there's always going to be a difference in the results. Why? Well, the reason being is that there are variables that are random. Poker has that with the way the cards are being dealt, right? There's cards coming out to you, cards going to your opponents. Other variables are such, of course, your opponents and how they play and how they react. However, because of variance in the game, you'll almost never have two players with identical results, even though their approach to the game might be identical. So that's why, for example, you will have a lot of players that will say, but I play like you and I don't make money, or I play like you and I do a lot better. Well, sure, you could be playing like me, but it doesn't mean that you are considering the same variables that I am. So now that we have the definition out of the way, why do I want to bring this subject up? Because I feel that most people underestimate how much of an impact variance and of course the mental game has on their game. So my goal today would be to get you guys a bit more of an insight into variance and how it can affect your overall game, and how you can try to master understanding what it means and how you can bring it to your game and improve your performance overall. This is the first episode, as I said, in this longer series. I don't know how many episodes there will be. It depends on your feedback and the topics we will discuss, but this will be the first one in attacking this subject because I feel it's the most important. So anyhow, let's continue on. I want to bring your attention to one website called EV++.com. You see it here in the topic, and this website allows you to visualize or simulate how variance works in poker. Now, some of you may be aware of this site, some of you may not be aware of this site. The tool is free to use, and I do recommend that you at least spend some time with it so you can familiarize yourself with what variance can actually do in your game. So when you come to this site, you can go to Poker Tools and you can go to Variance Simulator. It has a couple of other tools here. I'll let you guys find out what they are. But when you come to the Variance Simulator, what you will see is that you'll have to fill in a couple of fields here. Well, 4 of them to be exact. So you can look at the sample size, which is variable number 1. And what I'll do is I'll also bring up a notepad so we can do this together here. So what we'll see is that we have a number of hands, number of trials, meaning, you know, how many, let's call them poker players are we testing. So for example, if you put 10, that means that it will give you 10 different results for 10 different players. Win rate is your actual win rate in big blinds, so BB, the small BB means big blinds. And then standard deviation, this is a number that you can find in your Hold'em manager or your poker tracker that tells you how much, based on your sample, you can deviate from the normal results, so to speak. If you guys want to know more about standard deviation, you can go to the definition of variance and you can, you know, try to understand what it is. But for the most part, you don't need to worry about this number right now. Of course, it's important because it tells you how much you deviate. You know, the smaller the number, the better. However, you know, usually you'll find it around 80 big blinds per 100. So once you're done putting in your numbers, you click submit. So let's take one example together. So one example that almost everyone, you know, cannot argue about is I take a sample of 1,000 hands, which is about, let's say, a session, right? I'm gonna put in 100 players, right? I'm gonna estimate that my win rate is about 5 big blinds per 100, which, you know, give or take is decent for the lower limits, for example, or, you know, the low stakes. Standard deviation, we'll leave it at 80 for now because let's assume that's the number the Hold'em manager gives us. When you click plot, you'll see something very interesting happen, right? So this will simulate, and then because we have the plot, max, and min runs only, it will show you the best run and it will show you the worst run. So what you see here is that if you're a lucky guy and variance is on your side today, then you will find yourself at the end of 1,000 hands winning roughly about 850 big blinds. That's pretty good, right? But if you find yourself to be an unlucky player that day, look at this. Your win rate is actually going to be close to minus 500 big blinds. So the difference is almost 1,300 big blinds. This is from the best case scenario to the worst case scenario. Expected means that this is what statistically you should expect to have. However, because of the standard deviation, which we were talking about earlier, your result would differ. At each point of this, your result can differ because of the deviation. So what will happen is you will actually end up in between the green and the blue almost always. Now let's take out the plot, max, min, and then go again. What do you see now? Well, you see that we'll see all the 100 people in there. We see that there's a very unlucky guy with a light teal there going down. There's the lucky guy with a dark, well, I guess it's a black, and then everyone else in the middle. If let's say you and 99 other Poker Strategy members were taken at random and put this into the graph, this is how your results could look, right? Most of you will find yourself in the middle here. However, there will be the lucky one that will be up here, and the unlucky one that will be down here. So why am I showing you this? Well, the main reason I'm showing this is because you need to understand how variance works. Look at this. I'm going to click submit again. We're going to get some different numbers. Why? Because it's all random. I can control some variables within my game, like for example, what cards I play pre-flop, right? I can control, when I play, how many tables I play, and so on. But I cannot control what's being dealt to me. I cannot control what's being dealt to my opponents. Sure, I can control choosing my opponents to some degree, right? Because you can make a choice of where you sit down, but you don't have full control over that, because at any point someone can leave and someone else can come down. And it might be in the middle of a hand, it might be after. So what I'm trying to say is that in this game of poker, there are variables you have no control over, and those variables you have no control over are affecting your results. So look at this. If you are the guy with the red line, wow, you're running pretty good. You're thinking, yeah, you know what, I'm killing these games. I'm probably the best player ever, right? But this is over 1,000 hands. What that means is that, in the next 1,000 hands, you could be the guy with the blue, here, right? You could be the most unlucky player ever. And then what you'll say is, oh my God, my poker game sucks. I need to learn more. I need to study more. I need to watch more videos and so on. Well, that's where the problem comes in, because most of us will, follow a pattern where we're doing this and then we all of a sudden drop down, which we call, the bad run or the downswing. The problem is that because we don't really understand that this is actually part of, the variance that affects us, or maybe not say that we don't understand, but we don't want to accept it, we'll look at quick fixes. Oh, I need to stop 3-betting, these hands out of position. I need to start 3-betting these other hands instead. Or I need to start calling more here than there. And the problem is that you're trying to fix randomness with something that you control, and that doesn't work in this particular case. So what needs to happen is, once you understand the variances in your game, you need to be able to transpose that into your actual game and see, okay, where am I making mistakes? Can I reduce the effect of variance? And the better your game overall, the smaller your standard deviation is going to be. So let's say you drop your standard deviation a bit, right? What does it actually mean to drop your standard variation? Let's say we go and let's say put 50 here. What's going to happen? Well, not much, other than you see the top and the bottom are closer together, right? Let's go back to 80 so you can get an idea. So we have, remember, we have almost 500, a bit around 300. You go with 80, you're going up to 600, you're going down to minus 500. So what the standard deviation does is that it just reduces how much outside of the normal you can be. Now, what other things can one do besides dropping down the standard deviation? Which obviously is done only through improving your gameplay, because that means you're allowing luck to have the least amount of effect that it can have. Well, you can increase your volume. What if I put 10,000 hands in? How will this look for 100 players? Well, look at this. There's still the unlucky people like the blue, or the pink or the yellowish, or the very lucky ones like the purple guy. So what you see though now is the sample grew. Most of the numbers in the middle look like they're getting closer together. What if we go up in sample another 0? What do we see? Again, there's still the unlucky ones, the lucky ones and the unlucky ones, but again, it's concentrated in the middle. How about we go for a big sample, like 1,000,000 hands, right? Which most of you might not even get to do in your poker lifetime. But 1,000,000 hands for some people might be 1 year worth of gameplay. You see what happens here is like, okay, over this big sample, we don't have people that lose money anymore, right? We just have people that make more money than others. So what this tells you is that obviously volume is one answer to reducing the effect of variance. Of course, variance is still there. You have a difference from almost 65,000 big blinds won to something like 35,000. So that's almost double, right? But what you'll see is that a winning player over a big sample is still a winning player. That's the key here. Now, let's actually make this 5 million. Well, you have a sample of 5x to 1 million. This might take you a lifetime to do. This might take you 10 years to do in some cases, right? What do you see? It's getting closer. Most of the numbers are within a range there. Everyone is still a winning player, but you'll have the unlucky person, the purple guy, who's, poor guy, sits down at about 200,000 big blinds, and you have the lucky few that sit out at about 300,000. The idea is that what we want to look for is to minimize the effects of variance in our game. Now, I'll leave you guys with this tool for now. I would recommend that you go on this website and look at some numbers, try to plot in and see your sample size, and try to play around with the win rate. In the next episode, what I will do is I will walk you guys through some other win rates so I can show you a pretty interesting number there. And I don't want to spoil the surprise, but you'll be in for quite a ride. I want to thank you guys for your attention. Don't forget, this was Bogdan for PokerStudio.com. Have a great day. Bye bye.